I'm Kelly from Freebie Finding Mom. Thanks for joining me today as we cover some topics that people have brought to my attention on my Facebook page. Now I'm going to invite the Freebie Finding Mom Facebook followers. Hi, I'm Kelly from freebiefindingmom.com. Thanks for taking the time to join me today for this, our Friday's Money Talk, where we kind of just talk about the topics that you guys have brought up to my attention throughout the week on the Facebook page. So, and like I said, if you, oh, by the way, if you're watching from Instagram, if you will, not Instagram, I'm sorry. If you're watching from YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up and be sure to click subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you're watching from Facebook, if you haven't already been over to my YouTube channel, I hope you check it out because I've been working really hard each week to try to put out a new video. And this week's video was a credit video about credit reports and about how to improve your credit score and that sort of thing. So if you will, do me a favor and follow me on YouTube. Like I said, I'm trying really hard to put out some good new content out there every single week. So thank you for joining me if you're on YouTube, and if you're watching from Facebook, thanks for joining me, and give me a hi and let me know if you have any money questions. So a little bit crazy morning this morning before I get to your questions. So I'm happy that I could still do this. We had my son's kindergarten program this morning. So that was fun. That was so cute. In fact, I'll probably put some either videos or photos on my Instagram. So if you're not following Freebie Finding Mom on Instagram, you might want to think about doing that because I share kind of a behind the scenes look of Freebie Finding Mom and like what I'm up to and stuff on Instagram, especially in Instagram stories. So if you get a chance and you want to, if that's of interest to you, if you would follow me on Instagram, I would appreciate it. So we had that this morning, and then some of the parents were taking their kids after the program was over, and I was not planning on doing that. I was planning on coming home and working and running some errands. And so, but then I felt bad because a number of his friends were leaving early, so I was like, all right, fine. So Ian's home with me now. I brought him home early, and we went to a kid's place. So so it's been a little bit crazy, but I did prepare my notes for today's chat beforehand. So without further ado, I want to get into some of your money questions. And as always, if you feel more comfortable sending your money questions via email, that works just fine too. If you want to leave your money questions in the comments, that's great. And when I say money questions, you can ask me anything related to like investments, because that's my background. You can ask about saving money, because that's my love. You can ask about, retirement planning or college saving, or quite honestly, if I don't have the answer, I'll be happy to research it for you. I just want you to feel like you have another resource to, have another third party, an impartial person to ask kind of your, I guess, money question or financial situation, what someone else would maybe do in that situation. So don't hesitate to leave those in the comments. And I always come back later in the week to see if I've got any other comments as well. Or feel free to message me on Facebook or send me an email. That works too. But anyways, thanks for joining me. So the first question we had, or one of the questions I had this week was from Karen. And Karen was saying that she's going to be babysitting this summer for some of her friends' kids. And she was asking like how much you should charge and that sort of thing. And it seems like it's been about 3 million years since I babysat. So I don't really know what the going rate is, although I have hired a babysitter, but that again has been a while. Mandy, thank you for chiming in. Mandy had made comments that, you may want to look, Karen, at the rules and the kind of the laws of your area to make sure that legally you can have a certain number of kids that you can care for there. And she then provided her pricing. And the reason Mandy knows is because Mandy works in childcare and she used to have her own childcare service. So thank you, Mandy, for providing those insights to Karen about how much you should charge for watching kids this summer at your own home. And specifically mentioning that you want to be careful that you follow up with the rules in your area to make sure that you aren't, that you're compliant, basically. And then I had a great question from Candace this week. Candace said she was worried that she hadn't started saving money for Christmas yet. It had some expenses they weren't anticipating. And so she usually, from my understanding, like to budget a certain amount each month throughout the year for Christmas planning, which is really smart, actually. So then by the time December rolls around, you're not slammed with, credit card bills or, more expenses than what you typically would spend each month. So she was worried that she hadn't saved much for Christmas yet. And we're already, almost halfway through the year. So Casey offered up a really great suggestion, which I guess I do, and I wasn't thinking about that as an option. So Casey, thank you for mentioning this. She was saying that you could use cash rewards. Like for instance, she has an American Express card, and then it must be a cash rewards card. So whatever she had earned, I kind of consider it sort of free money, right? Is because you're earning it just for using their card. And she had said, and then she uses some of that extra, could be a couple $100 by the end of the year. That extra money from her cash rewards card, she uses that for Christmas shopping, which is a great idea. I find that with ours, we have a Discover cashback card, and I find with ours that I typically use it. I use it for holidays, but I almost always use it for Amazon purchases. It's just so nice and easy. Like when you're going to check out, and then it gives you the option to, select to use your cash rewards. And it feels like almost weekly I'm buying something from Amazon anyway. So I love having the cash rewards card for that reason. And then Heather was kind, and she offered up 2 apps that you may be able to look into, Candace, that will help you make some money too. Like if you're looking to try to make some additional money to help kind of increase your savings each month since you're a little bit behind, check out the 2 apps that Heather had mentioned in the post that I had up there for you. So, and then I want to get to Melissa's question, which is probably one of my favorites because I love to talk about retirement planning and that sort of thing. But she was saying that she's only 27 years old. Her and her husband are only 27. She was wondering, should she start saving for retirement? This is like one of my favorite questions ever because I'll share a little personal information about me. It is probably the best financial decision I ever made in my life was to start a retirement plan early. And so the answer that I would give you, Melissa, is pretty much what everybody else said, is absolutely you should start saving for retirement, assuming that, your debts are taken care of and you have, an emergency fund established and that sort of thing. If you do, you absolutely should start saving for retirement. First off, if you have earned income, you should start saving in a Roth, at least IRA. But so, and that was kind of the general consensus of everybody who was kind enough to comment on Melissa's question as far as whether or not, I guess Melissa was thinking maybe it's too early to start saving for retirement. No such thing, because, especially with, first off, you don't know what your expenses are going to be in retirement. You don't know if you'll be able to always contribute. So for retirement, so if you can now, like say for instance, if you don't have a lot of kids or any kids or anything, now may be your best time to be saving for a while, because once you get kids and, house, mortgage, all that stuff, then it gets more complicated. So having said that, Debbie had mentioned, before I get to Debbie's comment, because I appreciate Debbie's comment, actually, I'll tell a little bit about my situation and why I think it was one of the best financial decisions I ever made was start saving for retirement early. Now, mind you, I was working in college at an investment advisory firm. It was actually a money manager at the time. And I had a mentor. I had 2 mentors technically, but one I was closer to. And I remember him coming over to me, and I must have been like 20 years old or so, coming over to me and one day saying, have you thought about starting to save for retirement? I'm like, Ken, I have thousands of student loans. Why in the world and I'm barely paying my bills the way it is. How in the world would I be able to save for retirement? And he's like, well, and I remember him, he's like the nicest person on the planet, one of the nicest people, and did it in such not in a confrontational or kind of directorial way. He did it more in a caring way. Like, you know what? If you can afford it, Kelly, really try to think about it. So he gave me a packet of articles to read, and he's like, just think about it, read it in your free time, whatever. And if you want to start a Roth IRA, I'll be happy to help you. And I was like, and literally when he walked away, I was like, all right, these I will never read. Boom, over to the side. Like, I'm not going to be saving for retirement. I'm just hoping I can pay for my books next quarter, And so I was just no way. Like, I thought that was not even possible. And then I was sitting on the bus, because I would rode the bus from downtown to my apartment. And I was looking, I was like, I'll glance at Ken's articles. He's a super great guy. I'll at least look at it. He's very smart. So if he thinks I should be doing this, then I should at least consider it, right? So I'm looking through these articles, reading these articles, and they were basically reminding me about the compounding of interest and how, like, even if you can't save the max, you should try to save what you can. And even if you can only start saving now, but then in a few years you can't because you're, for whatever reason, money is tighter, you still should be starting to save now. So I was like, well, that makes a lot of sense. I do know about compounding interest, and I could see why, if I can squeeze out some money to try to contribute to a Roth IRA, why it would make sense. Because I saw these charts where it's like, if you contribute at age in your early 20s versus starting in your 50s, how much obviously more you'll have because of compounding of interest. And so long story short is, thanks to Ken, and I won't say your last name, Ken, because you probably won't watch this anyways, but I feel like I should share this with you. That is probably the smartest financial decision I ever made in my life, to start my Roth IRA as soon as I could. So that was in my early 20s. So I encourage you, Melissa, and anybody else, that if you can, even if you can't, and I've told this to my friends, one in particular that I tell repeatedly, even if you cannot save the max in your retirement account, that's okay. Save whatever you can. Something is better than nothing. And at 27 is not too early. 20 is not too early. So if you can start saving for retirement, that makes so much sense. And I want to get to Debbie's comment. Debbie brought up a good point, and I love this actually. She had mentioned Dave Ramsey, and if you're not familiar with Dave Ramsey, he's a financial guru, and he's big into helping people get out of debt by referencing things like the debt snowball effect, which, by the way, I taped a video on the debt snowball effect, which I will get out. I hope this next week. I'm going to get it edited and get that debt snowball effect video out this week on YouTube, and I'll share it on the blog, I'm sure, at some point. But like a more reason, like I say, if you're interested in this sort of topic and about finances, check out my YouTube page, and if you will, follow me there. I will put a link to my latest YouTube video in this post so that you'll know where my YouTube page is. So you'll be able to follow it if you want, or subscribe to it. So Debbie brought up Dave Ramsey, and I like a number of things Dave said. I agree with a number of his methodologies, not everything. But when it comes to what Debbie said, I agree with. And that is things like, trying to aim to be debt free. Of course. I mean, that is a great approach to try to, pay off as much of your debts as possible, especially your non-mortgage related debts. Pay those off as soon as possible. I totally agree with that. The importance of having a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. I completely agree with that as well. And saving about 15% of your income to retirement. That's just kind of a general rule that you see all over the place. And that's just a smart idea if you can. But don't not save for retirement because you can't save that 15%. So Melissa, whatever your situation is, if your husband and you can at least afford to put some money away in retirement, I encourage you to do that because you will not regret it. And the way I think about retirement is, please don't think about it as funds as you'll be able to get at some point. Retirement funds are funds that you should plan on, they're put away. Like, it always makes me cringe when I hear or I'll read comments about, people ask me questions like, should I pull this out of my 401k, or should I take this out of my Roth IRA to buy, finance something for the house, or, to go on a trip or something. I'm like, no, don't take it out of your retirement. Seriously. Like, if you can, consider your retirement as money that you have stashed away that you're not going to touch for many, many, many years. Now, I understand that situations can come up in life that we weren't anticipating having happened, and you have an emergency that you just have to cover. It could be medical bills or something. That's different. But when you pull money out of your retirement account, that is very expensive money to pull out, meaning you're going to pay a hefty penalty. You're going to have probably at least a 10% penalty, if not more. And it's just going to take you a long time to make that back. So if possible, try to exhaust your other resources before you pull any money out of your retirement accounts. I hope that's helpful, Melissa, for you. And then Trisha brought up the good point, and I've actually, Trisha, had the same thought too, as far as Trisha wanted to know how she can help teach her children the value of money, or her child the value of money. And because I guess they ask for a lot of stuff, and not obviously when they're young, they don't understand like a $50 toy versus a $5 toy a lot of times. And Trisha, have similar thoughts sometimes with my son, who is 6. And it's tough because as he's gotten older now, I've tried to kind of instill things in him by like letting him know how much something costs. Like, I'll tell him, Ian, that is expensive. That is, I might try to put it in his terms. Like, that, stuffed animal is like, 3 little stuffed animals in one. That's how much it's going to cost, and try to put it in terms of which they would understand. And you can also think about an allowance. I love the comments that we got on this post too. Beth and Melody mentioned having your children do chores and then maybe paying them for those chores. My son has chores, which he kind of has to do whether he gets an allowance or not. And I like the other idea that Wintry, I hope I'm saying your name right, it's a pretty name, Wintry, said maybe have them do extra chores and then pay them for those extra chores, which I like that idea too. That could be something I could do with Ian. Because here's the thing is, when Ian was younger, when he was first learning like what a quarter is, or a dime, or a nickel, I was starting to give him a little bit of an allowance because I wanted him to understand what each, coin was and how much it stood for. And then he got used to just getting it. He was like, okay, every night, where's my, my quarter and my nickel and my dime and my penny. And I was like, you're not even earning that, and he was younger at the time, so it's okay. But as he's gotten older, I feel like he needs to take more responsibility for, his chores and actually earning the money. So I haven't figured out the exact solution for that, but I will probably implement something like what I did before, which is say, you know what, if you did a really good job cleaning up this week and I didn't have to ask you 30 million times, so I'm going to, give you what I would do is, and there wasn't a lot of rationale to it. I would give him 1 quarter, 1 nickel, 1 dime, 1 penny, only because I wanted him to learn all of the denominations. So it's kind of selfish for me because I wanted him to learn. But he obviously loved it because he was getting so much money every night or every other night, unless he had an issue. Like usually what I would do is if he wasn't listening really well, I'd be like, well, you lost a quarter just now, or you lost your nickel just now. So, so I would use it in kind of that way. But as far as Trisha teaching them, and I should say Mandy mentioned on the post also that just have candid conversations. So I kind of do a mix of all those. I do that too, Mandy. I have especially now, like I say that Ian's 6, I feel like I can talk to him more as far as like, all right, that was a lot of money. Like I'll say this, you want to go play soccer. That costs quite a bit of money. Okay. So like, if you're going to do that, then we're not going to do lacrosse or swimming or something else. Like you need to understand that it's not unlimited. You can't do it just because you want to do it. So I agree kind of with all of this really. Like I said, I do a mixture. Mandy, I have, very frank conversations with my son, and I think that is good. So then they understand that, like I'll say, mom and dad have to work, and that way you can do some of these fun things. And so I think it's important for them to hear that. So they learn, like, it's not like just money just falls from the sky, wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice? So anyway, I love the people's suggestions. So long story short, kind of have candid conversations. You can have them do chores if you want. If you want a free printable chore chart, now that I think about it, I have one on Freebie Finding Mom. I will put a link to that in this post as well, if that's helpful for you. So you can just download that and print that off and then put your child's name and then whatever chores you want for them to do. And then you just check it off for whenever they do it. So I will put that along with the credit video link in this post. And I want to remind you that today we had the Free Friday download. So if you have a Kroger near you or a Kroger affiliate store near you, be sure to head over to Freebie Finding Mom and download that freebie today. You have a couple weeks to actually redeem it, but you'll have to download the coupon today. And without further ado, I just want to touch on those money questions that you guys have sent in. Keep sending in the questions. I feel like I get great feedback. You guys can leave it on the comments in the video too, but I get really good feedback on email that this is helpful for you, that even if you didn't ask the question, you were wondering the same thing. So don't hesitate to send me your questions via email. You can send them via Facebook chat. You can, like I said, leave them in the comments, and I always come back throughout, usually at least once a day, come back and make sure I didn't miss anybody's comments or questions. And that's why I do these videos. Sincerely, I just want you to feel like you have a financial resource to ask somebody your questions, and just know that whatever you're going through financially, if you feel a little overwhelmed or just kind of have had a question that you didn't know how to handle something, just ask me and I'll be happy to either answer it or research it so I can answer it for you. So without further ado, I hope the weather is beautiful where you are. I won't take up too much more of your time. Thank you so much for joining me. I greatly appreciate it. If you will consider sharing this video and giving it a like or a thumbs up, that would be great. And follow me, like I say, on Instagram and on YouTube. Instagram, like I say, it kind of gives you a behind the scenes look of what's going on here, kind of more of a personal perspective of what's going on, if that's of interest to you. But YouTube, I'm putting out new videos pretty much every week now. So be sure to check me out on YouTube. And they're mostly money related. I'm actually going to be teaming up with a couple other bloggers here over the summer that have been wanting to do some other finance videos. So that'll be fun. And you'll get to know some of the other kind of my blogger friends, and hopefully they'll get to know me, like their followers will get to know me as well. So anyways, hope you guys have a lot of fun stuff planned for the weekend. Thank you again so much for taking the time to watch and leave your questions and comments. I'm happy to answer them. Thank you so much.